Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. Again, my name is Andrea Banu. So today we are going to jump in to what everybody is talking about with regards to Trump and these stimulus checks. Yes, he is talking about all the money he's saving from the government, giving it back to the taxpayers. And I cannot wait to find out if there's some truth to this rumor. So if you haven't already, go ahead and press subscribe and we'll go ahead and start the show. Yes, hello and welcome. Good morning, good day, and good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. And so within the last few days, we've been talking about and we've been seeing all that Doge is doing to save money and to uncover fraud and all this wasteful spending. So now it looks like a few people on X have suggested, why don't Trump give everybody stimulus checks? And of course, at first it's like, okay, it's just wishful thinking. However, Elon responded and was like, hey, listen, I'll bring it to the president's attention. And Trump is saying, he with it. He is saying, I'm with it. He gonna tell Congress and they all talking about it. Like, we might get a stimulus check. Like, we may get some of that money they've been wasting back. So I'm gonna play this video from Fox so you can see exactly what the figures are.
Be 20% back to taxpayers, 20% to pay down the debt.
I'm sorry, let me go ahead and rewind that.
Dividend checks, that would be 20% back to taxpayers, 20% to pay down the debt. 60% is left. Who gets that?
When you achieve savings, you can either return it to taxpayers, you can return it to our debtors, or it can be cycled into next year's budget, and then it just lowers the overall baseline for next year. This is all going to be worked on through the reconciliation process with Congress that's going underway right now.
The White House breaking down how government savings will be used. Now, Doge is proposing that a percentage should go straight to Americans' pockets. And James Fishback is a Doge advisor. He came up with this idea. That escalated quickly, James. So here was Elon Musk yesterday talking to Hannity about this. Watch.
The overall goal is to try to get $1 trillion out of the deficit. And if the deficit is not brought under control, America will go bankrupt. The massive waste, fraud, and abuse that has been going on, which is leading to a $2 trillion a year deficit. That's what the president was handed on Jan 20th, a $2 trillion deficit. It's insane.
James, sorry, that was on Tuesday, not last night. But the sentiment continues. And a question based on, even on what Stephen Miller was just explaining to Peter Doocy yesterday, the $55 billion in savings that Doge has found so far, has that money then been transferred back to the Treasury, or is it still at those agencies waiting some sort of assignment from either the president or actually from Congress?
Well, it's somewhere in the ether, Dana, but I think the more important question is that where is this money going to go when we end up saving it when Doge is all said and done? President Trump is off to a smashing start. What an incredible first month. Now it's time to look at the Doge savings, as our proposal calls out, and send 20% of that right back to the hardworking Americans who sent it to D.C. in the first place, Dana. They didn't send it to Washington, D.C. for it to be spent on a rocky Sesame Street or on a transgender opera in Colombia. They sent it for our roads, our bridges, our health.
Did you hear that? Transgender opera in Colombia. That's what we wasting this money on. All your hard paid tax dollars going toward transgender operas in Colombia.
Care on our education, that clearly has been lacking. So guess what? Taxpayers are overdue for restitution. They need a refund. And I'm proud that President Trump supports our proposal.
So would, in your idea, and maybe it's not fully fleshed out yet, but would the dividend checks go to people, like all taxpayers, or just to people making a certain amount of money?
It's a great question. So the plan, everyone can read it at mydogedividend.com. The plan is very simple, Dana. We think Doge will save $2 trillion in total. You take 20% of that, that's $400 billion. You divide that by the number of American households that will pay federal income tax this year. That's 79 million. That gets you $5,000 to every American tax-paying household next summer. It'll have President Trump's signature on it, because without him, without his leadership, this would not be possible.
Okay, the New York Times asked this, a Doge dividend. President Trump floated giving taxpayers a piece of any savings that Elon Musk cost-cutting generates, which could reignite inflation. And I'm no AI expert, but I just checked on Grok. I just asked a question. Would giving these checks possibly lead to more inflation? And Grok says yes. What do you say?
I say no, and here's why, Dana. The first reason is that our economy is in much better shape the last time stimulus checks were indiscriminately sent out by President Biden. We had a massive labor shortage, supply chain dislocations, and they were sent out to everybody, not just taxpayers. The second reason is that this money is coming from direct savings. So remember, for every $5 that Doge saves, $1 goes back to hardworking taxpayers. And a poll from 2019 CNBC found that 70% of Americans would use this type of check to pay down debt, which is the opposite of inflationary. It's deflationary. So this is a good policy.
So
it's good economics.
100%. I totally agree. That's why it's called a stimulus. It's going to stimulate the economy. Why would it add to inflation? Everybody having extra money. That's crazy. People are going to get that extra money and they're going to pay down their debt and they're going to get ahead. Yes, you're going to have a lot of people who go shopping and spend. But listen, even those people are contributing to boosting the economy. So if those are their tax dollars and they get that stimulus back, they can spend it however they choose. But just think about all of the people who have debt right now, just based on the high cost of everything, will, really benefit from getting some of that money back. Because the truth of the matter is we can't avoid taxes. We can't choose to just not pay taxes. And so some of that money coming back to the Americans is just incredible. I am all for it. All for it.
That's going to be my last question. Do you think that if somebody does ultimately get this check, if they have credit card debt, they should use that extra money that they found, the savings, the money they weren't expecting to get back, and pay down their own debt?
Absolutely. Just like
so
DC should get its house in order.
So then should the government do the same?
The government should do the same, which is why this proposal calls for the rest of the money, the other 80%, to narrow the deficit, Dana, and to pay down our national debt. But American taxpayers who have worked hard, they need a break. They need restitution. The biggest part, Dana, though, is we incentivize them to report waste, fraud, and abuse, as President Trump said on Air Force One. Report waste, fraud, and abuse, Dana, because guess what? The more Doge saves, the bigger their Doge dividend check is.
Stephen Miller breaking down the expected plan to distribute the funds that have been clawed back by Doge, or at least some of them, as those Doge dollars may soon be headed for your bank account. President Trump floating a plan that would use some of the department's savings to help pay down America's debt and have more go directly to the taxpayers. Let's bring in our panel. Former Biden White House Director of Message Planning, Megan Hayes, and GoPac Chairman David Avello. So here's what President Trump said about the idea of a Doge dividend on Air Force One. Listen here.
I love it, a 20% dividend, so to speak, for the money that we're saving by going after the waste and fraud and abuse and all of the other things that are happening. We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt.
I mean, just think about how incredible that is. I mean, seriously, like you have so many people, I'm sure, watching who did not vote for Trump and who are not fans of Trump. But just think about it. Just sit back and think about it for a minute. This man, within 30 days of being in office, has already uncovered millions, maybe even trillions of dollars worth of debt. Okay, wasteful spending. Okay, so he's saving the government money. Everybody talks about this deficit and how out of control it is. Could you imagine if he leaves office and he's actually brought down the debt, our national debt? You know, they always talk about how my age group and beyond are going to be burdened with this deficit. Could you imagine if he brings that down? One, he brings down the debt. Two, he's actually giving dividends, reimbursements back to everyday citizens so that they can help to bring down their debt as well as pay for their regular all of their bills, etc. So you're going to have that's going to stimulate the economy. People are going to now can pay off all their credit cards. They can now qualify for homes. They can now afford their mortgages, etc., buy cars, all of these things. So it's a huge stimulus to the economy. You bring down the debt, you boost the economy, you get all these immigrants out of the country, minimize the crime rate due to migrant crime. I mean, and ending wars, okay? It's been a ceasefire in Israel already, right on the cusp of him taking office. He's already had conversations with Putin and Zelensky about ending the war in Ukraine. He already had conversations with China, say, listen, we don't need to be investing no more money in nuclear weapons. Don't nobody need to be using nuclear weapons. We just need to sit down and have conversations like men and figure out how we can all make money and keep planet Earth intact, okay? I mean, come on. I mean, seriously. Like, you can feel however you want to feel about what this man says, but can you not be taken back and impressed by what he has done? And he ain't even been in office 30 days. Today's the 22nd. He's been in office 30 days. So, I mean, the measure, just the impact of what he's been able to do in such a small window of time compared to what Biden and Kamala did for 4 years is just unprecedented. The amount of deportations that he's had in this small amount of time, the level of impact that this man is making on the economy, like, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and it's almost surreal because it's like, this is exactly what Americans voted for. And so for him to actually be on a serious mission to get in there and do everything right. And of course, the first presidential reign was a trial run. He really didn't know what he was doing. So this time around, he's like, I know exactly what I need to be doing. I know how to get it done. I know the kind of people that I need to get in these positions, and we're going to turn this thing upside down. We're going to turn this thing out. We're going to uncover all the fraud, all the BS, and we're going to get back to the people. And it's just like, it's incredible. It's like it's restoring your faith in America. It's restoring your faith in what could be. That American dream is no longer just a fallacy, no longer just an illusion. Like, okay, he is literally turning the ship to something that's going to benefit all of us. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, and then I forgot. Okay. Last week, this man got on a podium and let it be known that 14th Amendment was written for us, okay? That 14th Amendment was written for freedmen. That was not so all these immigrants could benefit with anchor babies. That was for freed men, freed slaves, descendants of slaves, okay? So he let it be known the importance of delineation and lineage, okay? Our ancestors, my grandmother, my great-grandparents, coming out of Louisiana, coming off them as sharecroppers, ex-slaves. That's for us. And he made that known. He spoke that and said that 14th Amendment was for y'all. Wow. Because everybody's talking about anytime somebody talks about reparations, like, well, who it's going to go to? We don't know who it's going to go to. I mean, it's African Americans ever. No. You know exactly who it's going to go to. You don't have no PBS special every week with whatever his name is, Henry Gates, that does all of these know your roots, know your ancestry, pulling all this stuff from the Mormons who keep records on everything, okay? You have census from that era. You know exactly who you gonna pay that money to. Every African American right now who got the last name Smith, Johnson, Brown, Green, Jenkins, them slave owner names. You know exactly who you gonna pay that money to. So yes, delineation is very important. And he just made an announcement that 14th Amendment, that's for y'all. So that's letting our lineage be known. Okay, so anytime we want to bring up conversations of reparations, now you know exactly who we're talking about. We're not talking about the people that came from the Caribbean on the backs of their grandparents. We're not talking about y'all. We talking about those who are homegrown American, whose ancestors was on them fields, okay? Who was slaving all those years and got nothing in return. Those are the people who we talking about. So we know exactly who those people are, and we now know exactly who that payout needs to be to, okay? And he stated that. This man is not playing, and I am here for it. Let's continue.
40%. Don't know where the other 60 goes, but as Stephen Miller was mentioning a moment ago, the three things you can do: give it back to people, use it to pay down the debt, or put it back into the general fund. Where do you think, Megan, it should go?
I mean, I think if the whole purpose of Doge is to cut the deficit, it should go to the deficit. I think that, I think they're going to need to focus on their accounting. One time they said $8 billion, and it ends up being less than $8 million that was actually cut for Doge. Also, we should look back to the Bush checks, or the Bush checks that came out, which took $100 billion.
And you know what's, and I hate to pause it, but I got to make this clear. She just said if Doge states that they want to focus on the deficit, then all that money should go back to the deficit. But I love the fact that they use the word restitution. Okay? Americans need to get restitution. And you know what that means? That means that they paid all these tax dollars under the guise that it was going to go toward streets, schools, et cetera, et cetera. And then y'all sent it toward bullshit. Okay, so that means that money was stolen. So now you need to give us restitution. Okay, in the same way in any other courthouse, when you get scammed, that criminal's got to pay some restitution. And so that's what America has to do for us. That's what the government needs to do for us: pay restitution for all those crimes and all that fraud of spending and wasting that money on nonsense.
Dollars to cover for people to get $300 and $600 per household. So there's a lot of money to give people money back that should be going to pay down the deficit if Trump is serious about balancing our budget.
I did a calculation yesterday that if you took the $55 billion that they've clawed back so far and you distributed it among every American, it'd be about $167 per person. To a lot of people, that's real money. But he's saying only 20%. So.
Well, but think about how many guitars you could buy, John, and have jam sessions on X in the afternoons. I mean, what we're really talking about is who should be spending this money. Should we be allowing Americans to invest it or spend it to help pay for everyday living and bring inflationary costs down? Or should we allow government and have it be the priority spenders? And what the Trump administration is saying is, let's give it back to Americans.
100%, because when the government is in control of it, that's how you fund, drag shows in Colombia. Okay. When you let the government utilize it, that's how you have 59 million going to house immigrants in luxury hotels in New York City. When you let government funded, you have a whole lot of nonsense about studies and shrimps on treadmills and cats on treadmills and study how we can promote flip-flops and shoes in Ethiopia. Like, nonsense. So it's already been proven that the government don't know what they're doing in regards to how to spend this money, because they are creating all of these little organizations and all of these little studies so that they can get kickbacks. Okay. I am 1000% convinced of it at this point. Okay. So they are setting all of this up just so that they can scam the government out of tax-paying dollars. So they don't need to be the ones in control of it now. All of this transparency is what needs to happen. And that's why the liberals are so pissed at Elon Musk right now. It's not that he is delving through people's social security numbers and he's delving through records. No, it's because he's seeing the paper trail. Okay. He's seeing where the money's going. He's seeing that trillions of dollars are missing and it's not been coded to where you can see exactly where it went. That's a problem. That's a problem. And then when he finds all these things, he throws it up on X. Let all of Americans know this where your money going. This where your taxpaying dollars going. That's the real problem with Elon. That's the problem they have with Elon Musk, is that he's not only uncovering all the nonsense, but he's exposing it to the public.
Now, here's the key to all of this. It is also, are we going to also make sure tax increases don't come because we don't continue the tax cuts that happened in the first Trump administration? And if Congress doesn't keep those tax cuts going, every American's going to see a tax increase.
When it comes to guitars, I'm like Phil Graham with guns. I got more than I need, and not as many as I want. Want to talk about the plane crashes that have been happening here and in Toronto, because Democrats are pointing the finger of blame at President Trump. Eric Swalwell talking about FAA cuts, saying this to Fox News Digital: Trump is president. President Trump is in charge of air safety. All crashes are Trump's fault, I guess, including the one in a different country. But here's what a guy who actually runs an airline said about the FAA cuts. Listen to Ed Bastian from Delta Airlines here.
After looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us.
See, and look at this. Now, the American people voted they spoke loudly with regards to their displeasure with the Democratic Party. So instead of actually focusing on things that matter to American citizens, they have decided to focus their attention on all of these plane crashes and blaming Trump for them. Make it make sense. We're not going to address what everybody is upset about. We're not going to address the economy. We're not going to address the border. We're not going to address all this wasteful spending that everybody has now, that Doge has just found. We're not even going to address that. We're going to focus on blaming Trump for these crashes, which is insane. And Gail, a hot mess, is contributing to that nonsense. And she got the man on here. He is an owner of an airline. He's like, Trump ain't got nothing to do with this. Played her on her own telecast. Trump, how can Trump have anything to do with this? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. But that shows you how disingenuous and how removed they are from reality. Democrats, do you not realize this is the reason you lost in the first place? Because you wasn't paying no attention to real shit, to real issues. This is why you lost. And this is why you're going to keep losing, okay? Trying this whole Trump derangement syndrome thing, and we're just going to focus on everything he does, and we're going to hope that, people gravitate toward and buy it, is nonsense. You announced to the whole world that Trump was Hitler, and as soon as he got elected, was posed up with him. You say he was a fascist, and 2 days later, he was babysitting your kids. Give it a rest. It's fraud. We know that we're being lied to. We know it's all propaganda. Why are you still doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? You gonna flop again in this midterm. You're gonna fail in 2028. Open your eyes. If you want the White House back, if you want the government back, if you want to be in control of anything, the House or the Senate, you're going to have to press pause on the shenanigans. You're going to have to press pause on the bullshit. Now, I know y'all been making a whole lot of money, okay? You've been making a whole lot of money in these positions, but the gig is up. The gig is up.
I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions.
He runs an airline. One of his aircraft crashed in Toronto the other day. When it comes to this type of criticism, should the Dems just park it?
I just think they need to be really careful with their rhetoric. I think this is really breathless to be saying this. I don't think you can blame a plane crash on the president, whether or not he's making cuts at the FAA or not, and whether those cuts are justified or not, or they're different conversations. This is where I think Democrats need to be very careful, and I do not think you should be sowing fear into people who fly. It is a very safe way to travel, and this is one of those times where this will hit Americans, and they need to understand that their government is on the side of safety, and Democrats are not doing that by fear-mongering.
So Swalwell, who apparently throws around rhetoric without the benefit of fact-checking first, said that there's been more aircraft incidents in Trump's first month than there has been in any other presidency. Sean Duffy put this out on X. He says there's growing media narrative that there are more airplane crashes now in Trump's presidency than under Biden. This is false. Here are the facts. In Biden's first month, there were 57 aviation incidents in the U.S. compared to 35 under Trump. I mean, it's just such talk borders on irresponsible.
It's certainly they don't follow the counsel as if you have nothing good to say nothing at all. Right? They only have bad things.
Or
they
if you
only
don't
try
have
to
the
make
facts
up
on your
bad
side,
things.
shut
That's right.
up.
And there is no message coming, a positive message to come out of the Democratic Party right now. So they must continue the rhetoric that they are doing, which is unhealthy.
And he said it. They don't have a positive message right now. There is no message. And I did the video I did the other day with Stephen A. And Stephen A. just went on this huge rant as to why is my name even being put in the hat in terms of a potential Democratic candidate? Why? Because y'all ain't got nobody. There's no reason that we should even be considering a conversation about Stephen A. Smith running as president. I mean, how unserious are you as a party? It defies logic. And here it is, you got all these people out here genuinely hurting, which is how you lost in the first place. And while Trump and his team are in there getting shit done, y'all still over here talking about plane crashes and how he's responsible for a plane crash in Toronto. Are you serious? Are you serious? Oh, it's because all the cuts he did with the FAA. Well, he did cuts everywhere. Everything is just going to fall apart when you start firing people. He fired 300 people out of 50,000. Stop it. Okay? Stop it. And so, I am in awe. I am in awe of what this man is doing. He came in here with a mission. He said the American public gave me a mandate, and I'm gonna see it through. And I am celebrating. I am celebrating, and it is in alignment with what I've been saying, which is he just buying us some time. Us as our community, he is giving us 4 years to get our stuff together and grind, because to me, everything he is doing is going to be beneficial to everybody, every demographic, rich, poor, black, white, male, female, except those who want to be somewhere in between. It ain't working out for them. However, that is not the majority. So the man is making real moves. I mean, real moves. Like I said, 30 days. He done kept boys out of girls' sports. He decided it's only 2 genders, okay? You either male or female. Ain't gonna be no more X on your passports. Male or female, you don't like it, kick rocks, okay? That's how we moving. He done already sat down and had negotiations with Putin and Zelensky to end this war so we can stop sending all this damn money to Ukraine. He going in here in this government and cutting all this wasteful spending. He talking about giving the American public stimulus checks. The man is serious. And again, I'm celebrating it. I'm celebrating. Like I said, it has never been in my lifetime where I voted and really felt like a president was actually doing what he said he was going to do on the campaign trail. You know, it wasn't just for politics. It wasn't just for, shits and giggles. He's actually doing what he said he was going to do. And I think it's incredible. So what say you? What is your opinion about the possibility of actually getting a stimulus check? And truth be told, I want you to tell me the truth. How are you feeling about the job that Trump is doing? You can say if you didn't vote for Trump. It's okay. I know a lot of people didn't vote for Trump. But how do you feel being that you didn't trust him, that you didn't vote for him, and he's in here putting that work in? So please do get in the comments and tell me your opinion. Tell me how you feel about all of this. Again, thank you so much for joining me on the Community Ledger. My name is Andrea Banu. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. And until next time, enjoy. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and watch the next video by clicking right here.